Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to episode 60 of The Knife Guy. If you're new to my channel, or you just came out of some weird corner of the internet and you have no idea where you are, I'm a knife guy, knife enthusiast, knife collector, knife enthusiast, knife enjoyer of many sorts. We are all knife guys and gals in this weird knife enthusiast world. We all go down our own unique paths, but we all, oftentimes we intersect and our paths intersect and we experience a lot of the same things. And that's what this series is all about. Every Sunday, I lay a bunch of knives out on the table that are either mine or some of my generous viewers who have lent them for review. And I just pick them up and I flip them and I talk about these things while you guys sit back and relax and watch, or do chores or whatever it is. If you've got me on in the background, I know a lot of people like to do that, and I appreciate that. But yeah, so what I've got laid out here, you guys might notice I've got fewer knives laid out today than I normally do. And there's a theme here. If you read the title, the title says Shady Practices. And something that has occurred a lot for a long time in this community. And truthfully, this type of stuff happens in any enthusiast community. And just in general, because not all people are honest. The knife community is full of wonderful, honest people. And if I'm specifically talking about my audience, most of you are wonderful. And I mean, like 99% of the people that I interact with on my channel are awesome. And that is evident by how many cool people are willing to, by the way, none of these are mine. These were all sent by viewers who are like, yeah, sure, here, review them, send them back, right? Wonderful people. We got a few bad apples. They're either people who don't care, or people who are brand new to, oftentimes it's people who are brand new and just assuming that everybody is stupid and that they can easily, trick people. And unfortunately, people get tricked often enough that it has become a problem. Now, there's a lot of different things that create these problems. By the way, let's get that out of here. You guys can follow me if you want to. We have the Shamwari, the Wii production Shamwari that is not currently available. We have the Spyderco Bombshell that was a recent limited release. We have the Rex 45 Shaman. We have the Spyderco Swayback, which is currently available. You can pick that up right now. And then we have the Custom Knife Factory Resenti Snafu 2.0, which was for a long time not available, and then here recently was slightly available, and I don't know if you can still get it anymore. All of these knives in one way, shape, or form have a pretty serious demand for them for one reason or another. They're either variants of knives that, sold out really quickly, knives that weren't made, super available in the first place, and, not a lot of people got a hold of them just because of one reason or another. Knives that are brand new models that sold out of intrigue that might become rare because maybe they won't do a whole lot more, right? The Swayback is currently available, and it will undoubtedly continue to be popular because of Marcin Slisch and the whole debacle with the Slisch Bowie, right? The Resenti Snafu is super expensive, but lots of people saying really amazing things about it, and people will pay a lot of money. So basically what I'm saying is that these knives will likely, each one of them will have a high demand because of, the unavailability that is associated with one thing or another. And the end result of this, naturally, is that the secondary market jacks the prices up. Now, the term shady, I can't just apply this broadly to everything, because there are enthusiasts in it. And to be honest with you guys, yeah, there have been a few. I've bought and sold and traded hundreds of knives over the last decade. And a handful of times I have made a little tiny bit of money. I would be lying if I said that each time I didn't feel a little bit bad about that. But it depends, I suppose it depends on the circumstance, and you can have your own thoughts about this, if you want to. I would say, if you make a purchase on a knife and you love it and it ends up being a safe queen, you just hold on to it. And then you find out, almost by accident down the road that the knife has a high demand for it, right? And you've kept yours in good shape, right? You've loved it, you're ready to let it go, and you find that you can get your money back and then a little bit more, right? And you could jack that thing way up and see if anybody bites, right? But in that circumstance, let's say it's me and I've got a $425 Hinder XM18, It's a variant that for one reason or another, became super popular and it's just not available anymore. And people are willing to pay $25 to $50 more than what, you paid for it. And maybe it's 4 or 5 years old. Is it wrong to sell it for a little bit more in that situation? I don't think so. Is it wrong to sell it for $1,000? That's pretty messed up, right? Where's the line is the obvious question, right? I don't know where the line is. Here's something that I can say is definitively, in my opinion, very wrong. A lot of times when a sprint is offered by a retailer, right? This Rex 45 Shaman, you guys know that these were gone in, 3 minutes? A lot of times, I don't know if it's still this way anymore, but the retailer, if it's a limited run or a sprint, will limit 3 per household, right? So what people do, because some people have gotten really, and I don't want to glorify this, I'm going to give you guys a way to get around this. And what people will do is buy 2 or 3 of them and then immediately sell the other 2 for way, way more than what they paid. And that's so messed up. That is such a messed up thing to do. Let people get their hands on them. Part of the reason they sell out so quickly is because people get greedy and they buy so many of them. Now, if you want to buy 2 because you're wanting to check and just be like, I just want one that's perfect, right? Because it's not like I can return it to the retailer, right? And then get the one that I want. It's not like I can exchange it because they're all going to be gone. So I buy 2 and I keep the one that I consider to be better based on my preferences for the action or whatever, right? Whatever little nitpicky thing you're doing. That's okay. But then the one that you're not using, if you post it, number 1, don't use it. Number 2, you can, this is just my opinion. My word is not law. These are just my thoughts on this. Then if you're going to turn around and sell the other one, explain why. Explain the circumstances, why you're selling it, right? And in my opinion, if you want to get exactly your money back out of it, okay. In my opinion, then the honorable thing to do is to give a slight discount. Slight, right? If it's a $200 knife, you bought 2 of them, you're going to keep one. List the other one and explain. I bought 2 of these. The other one I kept because of my preferences right here. This one didn't quite have it. I'm willing to let it go for $10 less than what they originally sold for, right? Because then you're letting another person who really wanted to experience that knife, you're giving them an opportunity to experience it for either the same amount of money that they would have paid had they been ready right then and there in the moment, or a little bit less, because of something that you perceive as not necessarily a flaw, but a flaw or slight imperfection versus the other one that you picked up. I think that's perfectly okay, right? You can say it's not okay to even buy more than one in the first place. You could say that, but the retailer's goal is to sell them, to get them gone quickly, right? It's a balancing act, right? It's gonna happen, so we can sit here and we can piss and moan about it and complain about it, or we can just adapt and do, we can try and do the right thing as the community, right? So that's what I think is fair. Now, how do we combat those people because there's going to be people who watch this video and they go, I don't care what this guy says. I'm going to buy 3 of them and I'm going to jack the price up 150, 200%. I'm going to make money because whatever, right? How do we combat those people? I can't convince those people not to do that. And you can't convince them not to either. The only thing we can do as the community is just not buy that stuff. Just don't buy it. It's easier said than done, right? Because there's the want, the need, the itch. My channel perpetuates that. I build that up and I'm like, look how great this is. It's not available anymore. And the whole pride of ownership thing, I have a video on pride of ownership, right? So it's like complex. You're being a hypocrite. My main point here is that, I can understand if that's your dream model and there's one right there and the guys got it priced $100 over what they went brand new, right? I guess if you can justify it, right, it's your money. You buy what you want. But the best thing that we can do to combat this kind of stuff is to not buy it and to understand, and specifically the reason that there are 3 Spydercos out here is this happens with Spydercos so often, right? You can blame Spyderco if you want. They're a business. They're trying to grow. They make things that people want. For the most part, they're reasonable with their prices, right? So I'm not going to blame Spyderco. But just understand, because Spyderco is who they are, they will keep making crazy variants. Just the day after you finally acquire the thing that you want, the thing that you overpaid for in the secondary market, Spyderco will come out with 10 more things that we want, right? So oftentimes, and I've been tempted before. In fact, I have overpaid for a Spyderco on the secondary market because I really wanted it. After one time, I stopped because I realized, I was like, if I'd have just waited another week, if I'd have waited another 2 weeks, I could just have the next cool Spyderco thing, right? Pay attention to Instagram. Pay attention to the mailing lists, you know, on these retailers that have the exclusives coming out. The Spyderco Collectors Group is it on Facebook? I can't remember, but the Collectors Group and the Spyderco forums will always keep people, you know, in a constant state of heads up as far as when stuff is coming out. So you can be available for the next thing, and that can be torturous to wait for the next. It's like, I don't know what's coming out. I don't even know if I want it. Patience, I'm going to be a hypocrite because I'm not very patient, but patience is definitely a virtue because you'll feel so much better being ready for that next thing, spending way less money on it, right? Getting your hands on it, not overpaying for that guy who's jacked the price up. That is the best way to combat this stuff. Now, it's again your responsibility after you buy this thing. In my opinion, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life or what to do, but if you're going to go this route, then, you know, when that day inevitably comes where if you're an enthusiast and collector, that's primarily the audience that's going to be, you know, nodding their heads and going, yeah, I get what you're saying, right? Then it's just as important if you do acquire this thing and you're ready, you got the money ready, you're ready for the drop, you pick it up. When that day inevitably comes where the love's not there for it anymore. I mean, if you plan to use it, then go ahead and use it, you know. You know, let's say it's a Save Queen and it's sitting in your display case and you're like, boy, that's just money tied up in that thing. I could sell that and be ready for the next thing. All right. Well, if you've kept it in good shape and you're honest about it, right? If you want to get your money back out of it and there's an opportunity to, then okay. But don't charge people more than what you paid for it. Let somebody else experience it for the price that it went for, you know, when it was available to everybody. And then use that money and pick up the next thing, right? Whether it's more or less than that thing, right? That's the right way to do this. That lets everybody experience this stuff, and we can never stop these people on the secondary market who do this, right? And I know that there's a few of you who are going to comment in my comment section and you're going to try and justify that. I have very firm beliefs on this. My mind will not be changed. I'm not going to try and tell you to change your mind. I'm not going to tell you that you have to change your mind. I'm going to do my best to convince you. So I guess it's fair if you try to convince me. I'm like, don't try to convince me, but this episode's about convincing you. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. My thoughts on this are not going to be changed. I don't think it's right to have, you know, we already have to deal with, you know, manufacturers and makers sometimes jacking up prices on things that we don't. The Shaman is a great example. That thing started out at 150. Now Spyderco wants 200 for it. And now their sprints go for even more money. And then those people who buy multiple sprints, they jack the prices up even higher. It sucks. That's my foundation. It's not justified. Right? Just enjoy it and then get your, if this is your career, is flipping knives, I don't know how you make this work. I honestly don't. That would be truthfully, if you're going to make enough money to live, right? If you're going to try and justify this, I'm going to assume that it's your means of living. Let's say that it's your means of living, right? That would be a 10 to 12 hour a day job where you are constantly rolling the dice and investing in things and then taking the time to flip them and ship them, right? And keep track of all this. No, it's not justified. There's no way. That's my opinion. But yeah, the only way that we can stop this kind of thing or not stop it, but mitigate it, is to just not buy that stuff. And my audience here, you know, these episodes get, I think they average 1.3, 1.4 thousand views a week. That's nothing. It's not to say that you guys are nobody. I'm just saying in the population of people that are interested in Spyderco knives, you know, even if every single one of you in this video goes, yeah, you know what, I'm going to make a stand right here and I'm never going to do this again. Great. 1.4 thousand people out of the, 500,000 people, I'm guessing at any one time, are interested in potentially overpaying for a Spyderco. It's probably too many people. Let's say it's 50,000, right? So less than, it's what is that? Less than 4%. Right? It's not a big dent, but if I can get my thoughts out there and then change a few people's minds, then maybe I can help with that a little bit, I guess, is the way that I'm thinking. I still want to voice this, no matter, even if my voice isn't really all that powerful in the entirety of the knife community. It's something that I think is good to, think about and practice, because new stuff will always be available. We are knife people. We constantly chase the next new thing, right? That one thing then and there in the moment might seem, you know, the FOMO, the fear of missing out might be so real right there. I've got the opportunity. I've got the money. It's right there in front of me, right? I can just do it and be done with it and be happy with it and have it. You know, in the back of your mind, you're going to get bored of it after a week, a month, 6 months, right? So you can turn it around. And all too often, the person overpays, and then in a panicked attempt to get the money that they spent, the extra money that they spent, back out of it, they just do the same thing. They just overcharge for it, and then it's perpetual. It's just constant, right? So, yeah, it sucks. It's just not something that's great. Now, on top of that, the other really crappy thing that some people do, and I've mentioned this many times in other videos, is they lie about the condition of the knife. Guys, when you do this, when you take a look at this. This shaman, I'm sure it can be adjusted. I'm sure it's just from, you know, it just needs to be, you guys have seen that video where or some of you have seen the video where I adjust the screws and the pivot in a specific combination and use the wedge, the paper wedge, and you can get it to recenter. So I'm sure that's the case. But somebody who picked this up, let's say they bought one, right? And this person, John Smith, is like, wow, I love it, but it's off-centered, and I tried to crank on the pivot and it won't center. I'm going to go ahead and sell it. And you know what? I'm actually going to charge more money than I spent. And then I'm going to do this crap. I'm going to take the picture from this angle to make it look centered, right? Stop doing that. Like, it sucks because there are people out there who sometimes are fooled by that, but what you guys should do, honestly, this is what I think. If you see somebody doing that intentionally, or they do that thing where it's like, it's a blurry image, it's 2020. Unless you're taking your photos with a potato, there's no excuse for the image to be blurry. It's pretty easy to get good lighting, and it's really easy to take the knife and center it up. You know how the gaps look on it. If you don't know, look for the gaps on either side of the blade up here. The gaps should be even. Down here, this is where it'll show center. If the picture looks like this, you're seeing a huge gap over here, then obviously they're taking it at an angle to make that blade look centered. Or they do this. Here's a sneaky way to do it. This drives me nuts. Look at the position of their hands. If they're holding their hands like this and they push up here, wow, it looks centered. What you can't see is their thumb is pushing it over into the picture, right? I see that, but a lot of people don't see it. Now that you guys are aware of some of that stuff, like if I just made you aware of some of it, point that out. Tell people in their listings, dude, don't be shady about this. That blade is off center. Stop trying to make it look on center. Stop trying to, you know, mess with people. And a lot of people are going to jump on me and say, the blade being centered isn't necessarily all that big of a deal, right? It's just like you said, you can oftentimes recenter it. You're right, but that's not the point. The point is that the person who's listing it and the reason for them listing it, right? They're being shady, right? And because they're shady about it, that person who then gets the knife realizes that they overpaid for it. They look at it and they're like, it's not centered, right? It makes them mad. And then they want to resell it. And then guess what they do? They do the same thing. They lie about little things. Maybe it's not centering. Maybe it's a little scratch, right? They took a blurry image and, oh, sorry, the lighting was bad. Oh, what you see is what you get. That's bull crap. That's bull crap. If you know there's a scratch on it, if you know there's a wonky edge grind, it's off-centered, if it's got action that you would consider to be subpar versus other knives in the same tier, tell the truth. Tell the truth. List it for what you're going to list and tell the truth. And then that person will go, okay, I don't, you know, I still want this. I don't want to pay exactly as much as you're asking for, but would you take this much? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to negotiate business. You list it for what you want to list it for. Don't, like I said, I don't think you should, you know, crank the price up to, you know, to 150, 200%, the original retail. But don't lie about it. Don't do that. That is so messed up. Literally the worst chain of events that could possibly happen is person A buys 3 versions of the same sprint, charges 150 to 200% for the other 2 sprints they're not going to use, or even all 3 of them, right? Lies about the condition, the centering, little things like that, or maybe they don't, right? Maybe whatever. But one case or another, the next people get them, they enjoy them for a bit, maybe they even use them, right? Or that they realize the blade's off center for one reason or another, then they're like, oh, whatever, I can go ahead and jack the price up on this thing because it's a rare, you know, sought after knife. And then they lie about it, and the next person gets, and just, it sours the taste of, especially to new, unassuming people in the knife community, right? And they're like, this sucks. I paid a lot of money for this because I went to Metal Complex's channel, and he was like These are so great. These are awesome. I love these, right? Like, I do my best to be honest about this stuff because I'm not being paid by manufacturers. I review the stuff that I want to review, and I give you my thoughts based on the item that is in my hands, right? I review things that I think I'm going to like, which is why you hear so much positivity on this channel. But if I don't like something after I get it, I talk about it. You can find that is evident in every single one of my reviews, right? So these new people are like, ugh, you know, well, if this is how people act here, then I'm just going to do the same thing. This community is growing. The knife world is growing, right? I mean, it's evident by all the crazy new models that are coming out all the time, all the interest, right? It's in this. So when little tiny negative things like this happen, butterfly effect, it spreads to so many other people. And when the community itself or the industry, the knife industry is expanding, boy, it's exponential. It's bad. Ugh, I don't like that. You know, be vigilant when you see listings, right? I'm not saying call people out. If they have a Spyderco that's listed at 150 to 200% the value, don't say, hey, you know, don't jump on those people for doing that. That's going to happen, right? And people are going to have different thoughts as far as whether or not that is justified, right? I mean, and there's some people are going to have left their comment too quickly. Here's the timestamp on this for people who didn't watch the entire thing and they're telling me I'm wrong and they didn't watch the whole video. Yeah, you can relate this to any enthusiast market. You collect rare shoes, rare cars, rare Pokemon cards, right? Oh my God. Have you gone to look at eBay? What some of those old Pokemon cards go for? I mean, you know, yeah, you could argue, you know, that people will pay whatever the item is worth to them right there. And sometimes it's dictated by the entirety of the enthusiast community, whether or not the item will ever be available again, right? And some people do make large investments in stuff like this. So don't come down on people for, you know, jacking the price. You're not going to be able to stop it. You know, what you can control is when somebody's, you know, or what I think people should step in and speak up about is when someone's being, you know, obviously shady. Make sure, you know, that is the case. If somebody's got a blurry picture and it's like this and they're trying to show it on center, right? Just a bunch of whatever, and it's a really rare knife, right? If everything is lining up to look like, hey, you know, I'm trying to pass this off as something better than it is, call them out on it. Like, dude, show it straight on, take a clear picture, stop being a jerk. Yeah, that's okay. Don't get on them for jacking the price up. They're going to do that, you know. Get on them for that. The other thing is clones. You guys who pick up clones of knives, right? Now, I can't stop you guys from buying clones. People are going to do that. You don't want to pay $500 to $1,000 for a really popular knife, and you can get a clone from China for 80 bucks. Right? No, it's not the same quality. I don't care what anybody says. It's just not. A clone of a Shirogorov is not the same thing as a real Shirogorov. It is a poor imitation. Looks nice. It's a poor imitation. I've handled clones. I've handled the real thing. No, not interested in clones. I can tell you guys right now, out of all the knives I've handled, it's nothing close to the same thing. The problem is, right, we can't stop people from doing that. I would suggest don't buy, just save up and buy the real thing, or just let it go. Buy something that is an original design, that's a unique design. Support the company for making that design, right? If you want to buy, I like to buy US. You guys can buy from where you want. Don't support people who make clones. But what's worse, I mean, or equally as bad as those companies stealing designs and then passing them off as originals. I mean, even putting their logos and the names of it on there, selling it. You guys who buy them and then try and pass them off as the real thing, that is so messed up. These people who do that, they need to, there's a section in Blade Forums, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's very old, and it highlights people and users, right, who have tried to do this on the forums. People are very quick about that. You get your name highlighted. They'll even point you out when you appear in another forum. People are good at figuring this out. People from different forums, you know, a lot of the same people, you know, in the Spyderco forums or on Blade forums and a number of other forums, right? And they can see the similarities in the pictures. They can see the similarities sometimes, and they'll actually go back and reference. I've seen this happen, and I'm glad that there are people out there that do that, right? And they'll point out this exact person is trying to pull this same crap in the Facebook buy sell trade group, or the R swap, or is it R swap? What is the Reddit the knife trading thing? I can't remember. They know. Don't try to do it, because they know there are people out there who are way smarter than you, if you're trying to pass off a clone as the real thing, people are really quick, and that hammer drops hard, right? They'll cross-reference email addresses, little things like that. That's, I mean, and I'm not by any means trying to give people a way to get around this. I'm telling you, there's not, don't do it, right? Because if you're successful, you screw one person, that sours that person's experience with the entirety of the knife community. And then all these people are now, like, these people who are really good at spotting this stuff, they're ready. Don't do that. And you actually, you know, there have been a few cases where people have legitimately gotten in trouble with the law for doing stuff like that, for cheating people intentionally. Don't do stuff like that. Now, obviously, the fine details of all of this, exactly what happened with these people, I don't know. The main purpose here is to keep people from doing things like this, right? I want people to come into the knife world and, you know, have a positive experience, right? Be able to watch my channel or a number of other great review channels or knife-related channels in general, get excited about something and make a purchase on an item that they enjoy and use and care about and that they appreciate. You know, it's what they wanted it to be, and in the best case scenario, it's better than what they wanted it to be. I can't stand people who make this worse for everybody. You know, even if I'm able to identify some of these things and not make purchases in the secondary market based on some of this stuff, it doesn't mean that other people aren't. I need to make a series that's essentially, it's every last little thing to look for. I need to make an extended series about the do's and don'ts on the secondary market. I started it. It's the Metal Complex's Guide to the Secondary Market. And I think the first episode was listing your knife, and it was very much a ramble like this. I need to condense it, create, you know, some good, talk about good etiquette, you know, rules, things to watch out for, you know, obvious red flags. I need to do that because it would speak much louder than this one episode of The Knife Guy. And that's something that I am interested in doing. It's going to take a lot of effort, and I'm going to have to structure it and write things out, and there'll be more work that goes into it than a regular Knife Guy episode. But this is definitely something I wanted to talk about. Boy, we're at 26 minutes already. I need to wrap this up. I think you guys, this was a rant. This was less of a rant. It was more of a rant. Most of the people watching my series right now, you're gonna be like, I'm already aware of this. You know, Complex. 95% of you are gonna go, we're aware of this. You know, we're just watching to hear you ramble and go off. But yeah, this is bothersome. If you're new and you didn't know about any of this stuff, you weren't aware of it, I'm hoping that even if there's 5 people watching this right now going, I'm glad you said something because I wasn't aware, I consider that a victory. But this is something I really wanted to talk about because we're going to see this more and more and more. All right. Again, my word's not law. I don't know everything. It's just one person's opinion, and I am just a regular guy who's just using his phone to record, you know, his thoughts on the knife world and knives in general. So, yeah, I don't know everything. I haven't experienced everything. You know, it's just my opinion. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's episode. I hope, as usual, you were at least mildly entertained, or you were, you know, I don't know, whatever you got out of this. If you feel positive in any way, shape, or form, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out, and if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a